Okay, we're back. I have one more segment. We could add one more segment in there. Um, it's the Dungeon Crawler Carl segment. Let's go, right? Uh, so we did it last a few weeks ago, where I talked about book three, and up to that point, I think it was like there were like at least four more chapters left on the book, and I was gonna like do a big episode recap of book three, but I ended up not doing it. So I ended up just continuing to read book four. So let's now I'm on chapter 14. I'm going to chapter 15, chapter 14 around there of book four, and I figured let's do a recap of the first 14 chapters of book four plus what happened in the last few chapters on book three. So yeah, let's get into it. So welcome back to the M3B Book Club. Last time we wrapped up the Dungeon Anarchist Cookbook, which is still my favorite book in the series so far. Still is. Um, y'all, I mean, book four is just like a few chapters in, but book three is still that chapter right there. And it's the fact that I know the chapters 22 to 24, and the reason why it's my favorite book. Uh, and then chapter 25 is the aftermath, of course. So I figured, you know, I'm not gonna argue with that. Just like those are it right there. Once I like read through the whole book of book four, then I'll figure it out. We left off with one of the most intense endings yet. Carl getting absolutely destroyed by the maestro. The return of familiar faces, the reveal of Prepotente and Miriam Dom, and one of those classic dungeon crawler Carl moments where Carl survives something impossible, says something funny to the audience, and then immediately passes out from the pain. Um, the fact that the maestro was Grohl the entire time, he didn't die. He just obviously y'all know that I'm gonna like spoil the hell out of this. So he didn't die. He ended up being this freaking thing. Um, uh, So Carl went after him and tried to fight him, and Mordecai gave him a potion which would like heal him immediately after everything. But Maestro was just stomping him. This hasn't happened in the first two chapters. He doesn't get hurt at all up until this point, and like like he's experiencing pain, but at the same time he's getting healed by it by the potion that he was given. Uh, he still wins and everything. Then we get the reveal of Prepotente and Marion Dom. And that's one of the most craziest things ever. I love it. We had a big fight moment, and then we got Prepotente and Marion Dom. And that's hilarious to me. Because, like, you see that it says he screams, but I made sure that the scream was heard. I kept saying, ah! It was funny. It was fun. The ending reminded me a lot of book two. Carl wrapped up in metaphorical toilet paper again, trying to process everything that just happened. The difference is that by the end of book three, Carl wasn't just surviving anymore, he was leading. He had built networks, saved crawlers, exposed betrayals, and became someone other people looked to for answers. Um, and that was fun. That was great. He became a leader. He just became like something to look up to, something to admire. And then book four opens and immediately says, "Welcome to Humptown." We go from freaking trains and to Humptown, camels, toe, the toe bar restaurant, a freaking changeling that can change into anything you want. Anything you want. So, a few people had her change up to Jessica Rabbit. Um, if you're from the 80s and 90s and you had a crush on a cartoon girl, Jessica Rabbit was one of them. Um, I didn't realize this until later, but Gadget also from Chippendale Rescue Rangers was one of them. Like they said that she turned into a mouse, and it took me a while to realize, oh shit, that's Gadget. All right, and to me, it was just hilarious that she was turning into all these crushes that we had back in the 90s. The Bubble Kingdoms. This is the weirdest thing ever. Donut warned us in the previous book that this floor is basically one giant litter box. She wasn't wrong. The floor opens in a massive desert. Wind is blowing everywhere. People can't even have conversations normally and have to communicate through chat. The first thing Carl does is get scanned by a camel that looked exactly like Joe Camel from the old cigarette ads. It's true. And somehow that's one of the most normal things we've ever seen so far. We meet a new version of Mordecai, an eagle-like skyfile, and learn the basic objective of the floor. Take over castles, four of them. Just the twist is they're all floating in the sky. So immediately my brain went into video games. What was the takeover stuff? I saw Risk. I saw Dune. I saw all these board games that have to do with taking over, strategizing. You know, like, and it comes up um, in another part of the book too that you had to have done a strategy out of this because if you do one thing first, the other places that you wanted to take over also are gonna like fall and something's not gonna go right. So so everybody talks about Doom when they see a desert, but I saw it more like what's it called? Shit, it's at the tip of my Thunderdome, Beyond Thunderdome. That's what that's what it came out as. I started thinking more about siege games. Also, it reminded me less of Risk and more of Stronghold. You got factions, territory control, resources, castle, and eventually armies trying to take over objectives. Um, the difference is this is Dungeon Crawler Carl, so the armies are probably going to be insane, and they already are. One thing that has changed so much is Carl. In book one, he was just trying to stay alive. We all know that. In book two, he was protecting Donut. In book three, he became a leader. You all heard about that. And in book four, he's acting like a veteran crawler. Like he's been around the block a time or two, a few dungeons here and there. He's already knowing what floor to do. He's strategizing. We meet newer and weaker crawlers like Louis and Fyrus, and Carl immediately starts looking for ways to help level those two up. As a gamer, this reminded me of Marvel Rivals. We've all been there. 4 DPS, 1 tank, 1 healer. Nobody wants to switch roles. That's exactly what some of these crawler groups feel like. Everybody wanted to be a DPS. There's this group that all nobody wanted to be a healer. They all wanted to shoot arrows. Nobody wanted to be a tank. They all wanted to shoot arrows. So there's all. I think it was 60 PSs. What 1, 2, 3? Yeah, there was at least 60 PSs with the arrows. And you got Fyrus and um, what's his face? Um, Louis getting drunk and high, and it was the funniest thing ever. And then you have a Langley who's there also, and then the only healer in that group in that vicinity is Donut, and the only tanks is Katya. And then you look at the other castles, the other bubbles that are being there. They also have a bunch of DPSs, a bunch of just that, and one tank, one healer. Like they basically put them all in separate places so that nobody would just Um, nobody would have an ounce of a chance. Um, Nobody wants to be the damage dealer, and nobody wants to do the job that actually keep the team alive. Carl recognizes the weakness immediately and starts trying to help these players get stronger before the floor kills them. Um, Also, one of my favorite themes is how much the series feels like a reality TV reality show. Book 3 convinced me of that we're on Big Brother, The Challenge, Survivor, all these freaking reality TV shows from back in the day about winning $1 million, winning a $500,000, whatever it was. All of them, from The Challenge, from um, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, not like that, but Big Brother, Survivor, um, The Circle, all of them. Uh, Without the interviews, without the what's it called, the confessionals and stuff. But it was more likely like the recap shows. When they watched the recap shows, there were interviews, there were edits, there was the sponsors, the audience reactions. Um, like in book 3, they didn't want Katya to hang around with the Donut crew and Donut and Carl crew because she was boring. Here we are, uh, another book later, and everybody loves Katya now because she's a freaking tank. Like she got she's there. In book 4 though, I'm questioning everything because we saw it happen in book 3 where Hecla was, besides Hecla, there were other people too that were just like, um, we've seen Carl do this, act crazy and stuff. We just want to see if he does it here too, with in front of us. And they were all depending on that. But Carl was just like, I don't even do that. That was just some other time. Um, for that to happen, I figured, like they're editing Carl to be something he's not. In book 4, the biggest example of that is the death of Ifechi. We finally learn who died in the top 10, and it's brutal. They didn't tell us they didn't tell us in book 3 that Ifechi had died. They just told us that there was a tragic ending to one of them. We finally learn who died. Lucia Marr uses her rubber abilities. Florin fires a shot and ricochets, and Ifechi's head explodes. We're seeing it through a recap, though. Like it just happened through the editing. And after everything with Hecla and Carl, TB Carl, in book 3, I don't trust the edits anymore. Like I have a theory that you know they made Lucia look crazy on purpose, and she probably wasn't. And I'm thinking maybe it was Ufechi that was being rude. Um, Maybe it was Florin who did something dumb. Um, Maybe it was Lucia who was defending herself. Like to me, these are my theories. I'm sorry if it's not, if I'm wrong. Hey, later on I'll admit that I'm wrong. The series kept forcing us to question who controls the narrative, and like you got to question it. You got to question if this is real, if this is what really happened because of the thing with Hecla and Carl. So now I'm questioning it. Was Lucia defending herself, or was Florin just an asshole? Was he Fetchy the true villain here? Um, One thing I love about the author Matt Dinneman, he continues to do exceptionally well, um, with tonal whiplash. We go from death, trauma, political intrigue to Louis drunk, Virus drunk, Juicebox being asked to dress like Nurse Joy. That's another one. Mordecai getting mistaken for Big Bird. After the whole Ifechi thing, after the whole Ifechi's Ezra moment that we had, they go into the bar, the toe, and freaking here comes, we meet Louis, we meet Virus, and we meet Juice Box, a changeling that she can change into anything. She changed into like I said, she changed into Jessica Rabbit. She changed into Gadget, and she changed into Nurse Joy. Basically, our childhood crushes. Um, and then, like before that scene even happened, though, there was a scene where Mordecai and Carl come into the toe, and they just stare at each other the entire time. Truthfully, if you read the book already, if you know, like they're texting each other, they're mentally in the chat texting each other, just they're like but everybody else around them is just staring at them like, what the hell's going on? What's happening? If you're a crawler, they'll be like, oh, we know what we're doing, what they're doing. If you're not a crawler, they're just like, can we help you guys? What's going on? That's one of the few ridiculous, funniest things ever because Carl catches it and then he says something out of there. Like, so, anyways, what we're gonna do is this, and I was laughing out loud about it when I read that. He knows, and then we get the AI. Oh my god, the AI is still one of the weirdest characters in the series. Like, I don't know why I just kept thinking like he's gonna change. It's gonna change. It's gonna change. Um, he's been self-aware since book one. I just know he has. He knows he's playing this game. He knows about the game. He knows about the dungeon. He knows. Like he's playing with his action figures. Like he's either playing as a kid playing with action figures or an obsessed girlfriend demanding attention. Um, the toys are the crawlers. Its favorite toy is Carl, and because Carl refuses to participate in the AI's food obsession, that's still a thing. The AI throws The AI throws metaphorical gerbils at him and causes chaos until it gets the reaction it wants. I just keep saying it. Time to pay the daddy tax. But in this moment, Donut was like, "Did you give him a case of blue balls?" And that's probably why. Man has needs. Freaking AI has needs. He wants some attention. You're not giving it to him. It reminds me so much of you know that one movie with Kirk Douglas. Yeah. Find out what that movie was. Kirk Douglas and Glenn Close. Michael Douglas. I'm sorry, Michael Douglas. It is Fatal Attraction. You're gonna listen to me right now. Yeah, Fatal Attraction. This is fatal. This is fatal because the AI is like, you need to pay attention to me, or else I'm just gonna throw gerbils at you. And he threw gerbils at him, and then Carl had enough, and he smushed him with his bare feet. And then you have given the AI some attention. Give me all your attention. Exactly. The biggest development recently came when Carl finally caught up with Chris Andrews. As you all know, he was from the Metal Arc crew back in book one, with his brother Brandon and Naomi, not Naomi, Matt, or what's her name, Ellie and Imani, and the old people group home, Metal Arc. That's the Metal Arc crew. Um, so like what ended up happening in book two and three was that um they all went their separate ways. Chris and Brandon got into a big argument. Brandon um left. Chris left, did his own thing, and became a giant lava monster. Ellie became a frost giant. Stay frosty. She became a little frosty person, and then Imani became a butterfly. But Brandon stayed behind. He didn't want. He We didn't know what he became until because he put out sent a message to Carl, and he unalived himself. So, or either that, or did he just pass away because of the stuff that was going on. The evolution of these characters is so wild. They really are. They really are. I love these characters though. Like these characters are. I just have. I've grown attached to them now. I'm sorry. It's like if something happens to these characters, I'm just gonna be like, um. But Chris became a lava monster, a lava man, and we don't see him for another chapter. We hear about him killing um, Carl's nemesis, Frankie, Frank Q, the one who tried to take out Carl in the first book. Well, in the third book, he's at the what's it, Desperado Club, and he takes him. Chris takes out Frank, and it's like, oh, well, all right then, it's like whatever. We didn't think of much of it. We just saw it like, all right, cool. He did that. He did that. Great. So here we hear that Chris already took over one of the castles, took over one of the rooms and stuff, and it's done. That's why I said that earlier that um, Carl was strategizing which one to take over first and all that stuff because Chris took out the first thing. Now, as there's a wall blocking the area where they're supposed to go. So here, Chris finally shows up and talks to Carl, and Carl realizes that something was clearly wrong. Juicebox figures it out first. Chris isn't entirely Chris anymore. Maggie Mai is there now. Maggie Mai is the wife of Frank. Um, we find out that there's a worm inside Chris's head, and it's Maggie Mai. She became a worm now, and she's like taking over his body, and she wants to just destroy uh, Carl. So we now realize that it was Maggie Mai who killed her husband Frank back in book three. Enough that like when Maggie showed up, there was something weird going on. Like Donut noticed it, like her follower count exploding. So it just got me thinking from there, like, why are they getting all these followers? And I had a theory. It's like, are they getting a following because they care about Chris and Maggie, or are they following because they think Carl's about to do something terrible? Um, are Chris and Maggie followers following Carl back because they want to know how it turns out, or are they just like, you know, I'm here because I want to see you destroyed, which reminded me of social media, like real social media. When a creator gets into drama, people don't always follow because they support them. Sometimes they follow because they want to watch the train wreck. And Carl has become content, and whether people love him or hate him, they want to see what he does next. So he's now content. People are like reacting. They've seen clips of Carl, unhinged Carl, so they want to see if he gets unhinged here too. So they start following him, and like it's from both Chris and Maggie's people. So where are we now? Right now, floor five feels completely different from the Iron Tangle. Book three was about understanding the system. Book four feels like understanding society. There are factions, politics, kingdoms, hostages, followers, public perception, and floating castles hanging over everyone's heads. The floor looks ridiculous on the surface. Camels, Humptown, the camel toe, spider people, drunk crawlers. But, I've read enough Dungeon Crawler Carl now to know that the funniest floors often end up being the darkest. This whole book from these past few chapters had been hilarious to me. From when we first meet Fyrus and Louis, the AI obsessed, um, everything from tragic. Oh, here comes something tragic and funny. Here comes something tragic again and funny. Um, all that stuff. It's become my favorite chapters on this book. So like if as far as like is it gonna be my favorite book? Not yet. We'll have to wait. If book three taught us anything, is that when Matt Dinniman makes me laugh, I should probably start getting worried. Or if Matt Dinniman gets me upset, hey, we're gonna get laughter pretty soon. Something's coming, and knowing this series is probably going to be weird, heartbreaking, hilarious, and completely insane all at the same time. All right, that's enough. We'll catch up next time, probably in a few weeks, and let you know how the book is doing and how we're doing it and how I'm feeling about it. So I'll see you next time as the Royal Court continues its journey through the giant litter box known as Floor 5.